One of the storytellers, youth storytellers, who was chosen to be submitted for national this year, who came to the state and was chosen to go on to national, that application has already been sent, is one of our storytellers on stage here this afternoon, and that is Ben Wilson.
Ben hails from San Antonio, Texas. He is in the 4th grade at St. Mary's Hall. He is one of my storytelling students. Very proud of him, and he has an awesome story to share with you.
Yeah. Being short in life. Yeah. Hi, my name is Ben Wilson, and I don't think I'm ever gonna get married. Relationships are just way too complicated. For instance, take the story of poor old Brer Possum. Brer Possum and Mrs. Possum, they love to eat frogs. They ate frogs for breakfast, they ate frogs for lunch, they ate frogs for dinner, they ate frog gumbo, they ate frog kebabs, they ate frog fricassee, any other way you could think of, they ate frogs. Now, Mrs. Possum was well known in these parts for her frog parmesan. It was award-winning, and she wouldn't trust anyone with the recipe, not even Brer Possum. So she was understandably upset when Brer Possum stopped bringing home frogs to eat. You see, Brer Possum had gotten older and a little bit slower, and the frogs had caught on. Instead of letting him just catch them, the frogs began to taunt Brer Possum. As soon as they heard him coming, they would jump into the water, just out of Brer Possum's reach. And Brer Possum would only see the frogs' eyes above the rippling water, and he could hear them chanting, "Banana, boo, boo, you can't catch us." And Brer Possum couldn't. So without any frogs in his sack, Brer Possum was forced to bring home garbage for dinner. Mrs. Possum cooked up garbage gumbo, garbage kebabs, garbage fricassee, and worst tasting of all, garbage parmesan. And then Mrs. Possum had had enough. She told Brer Possum, "If you don't bring any frogs home in your sack tonight, you shouldn't bother coming home yourself." Mrs. Possum had never said anything this horrid to Brer Possum in her entire life. So Brer Possum was sitting down by the pond, feeling pretty down, when his friend Brer Rabbit hopped by. "What's wrong, Brer Possum? You look depressed." Brer Possum explained his sad situation. And then Brer Rabbit lit up and said, "I have an idea, I have an idea, I have an idea." And he whispered his idea into Brer Possum's ear. Brer Possum smiled and nodded, because they had a plan. The very next day, Brer Possum came down to the pond as usual, with his frog sack in hand, which had been quite empty lately. But when Brer Possum got to the edge of the pond, he clutched his chest and moaned, "Oh, I don't feel so good today. I feel like I'm gonna die. Yes, sir, I'm about to give up the ghost. Start pushing up daisies, buy the fog, eat my lunch, kick the bucket, then bite the big one. And then Bear Possum started shaking all over. And then his left paw shot out, and it shook. And then his right paw shot out, and it shook too. And then his ears went back. His eyes got wild. He went as stiff as a board. Jumped 2 or 3 times. And then he fell flat on his back. And he didn't move 1 lick. Then Bear Rabbit came around the bushes. Bear Possum, what's wrong? He moved over to Bear Possum's body. He shook it. He felt fur pulse. And all the while, Bear Possum wasn't moving. Now the frogs, they weren't quite convinced yet. But after a while, the Bear Rabbit screamed and hollered, "Bear Possum's dead! He's just dead!" They began to move a little closer, just to check out the situation. And when Bear Rabbit saw them coming, he said, "The least you can do is help me bury my friend Bear Possum. He can't hurt you now." After a while, the frogs agreed. "And it just so happened," said the Bear Rabbit, "I have this little bag of shovels I was using to garden this morning. I have a shovel for you, one for you, one for you, one for you, one for you, and one for you. Now start digging." So the frogs started to dig. Then after a while of digging, frogs asked Bear Rabbit, "Is deep enough yet? Doop. Is deep enough yet? Doop." "Well, I don't know," said Bear Rabbit. "All the frogs jumping out. Let me take a look for a second." All the frogs jumped out. "It's not deep enough yet," said Bear Rabbit. So all the frogs jumped back in the hole and started to dig again. Then after a while of digging, frogs asked Bear Rabbit, "Is deep enough yet? Doop. Is deep enough yet? Doop." "Well, I don't know," said Bear Rabbit. "All the frogs jumping out. Let me take a look for a second." All the frogs jumped out. "It's not deep enough yet," said Bear Rabbit. So all the frogs jumped back in the hole and started to dig again. And after a while of digging, frogs asked Bear Rabbit, "Is deep enough yet? Doop. Is deep enough yet? Doop." "Well, I don't know," said Bear Rabbit. "All the frogs jumping out. Let me take a look for a second." But this time, it was so deep, frogs couldn't jump out. When they tried to jump up, their little webbed feet slipped on the dirt and they slid on back down into the hole. Then Bear Rabbit shouted, "Bear Possum, it's supper time!" Bear Possum shot up and jumped in the hole, started stuffing those frogs in his sack. He moved very quickly on the account that he was very hungry. He was dreaming of frog parmesan the whole time. And then when Bear Possum's frog sack was full, tied up in a knot, climbed down the hole and went home. And Bear Possum and Mrs. Possum, they had enough frogs to fill all their Tupperware containers to store and freeze for the winter. But the best part of all was in the spring, they could do it all over again. Because the new frogs didn't know that Bear Possum could play possum. Thank you.